Good morning, die harders. Who's ready to live free or die hard? This is the S&W EXPerience podcast, and I am Shogun. And on this episode, I will be reviewing the 2004 Marvel Studios produced The Punisher, starring Thomas Jane and John Travolta and Will Patton and Ben Foster and Kevin Nash and a bunch of other people whose names I can't remember. So, sit back, relax, and here we go. You don't get a wrist slap in jail, Weeks. You get a bitch slap. This is the spoiler-filled review of 2004's The Punisher. I'm not going to bother with a non-spoiler review because this movie is 10 years old. This movie is 11 years old. I just checked that math over there. This movie is like 11 years old. So what would be the point? If you haven't seen it, you should definitely go see it. But me telling you what happens isn't going to spoil anything. So see it anyway. It's awesome. There's no twists. There is, in the extended edition, something that, like, you know, if you saw it coming, you would kind of stay in the film. But whatever. If you've watched action movies before, you can kind of sense it coming. So it doesn't tank your enjoyment of the movie. It is like, oh, okay, that's nice, but whatever. Anyway, right out the gate, that line about there's no wrist slaps, you get a bitch slap. That's taken from a scene in the extended version, the Blu-ray version of 2004's Punisher. See, I saw the original version when it came out on DVD way back when. And now I'm seeing, last night I saw this one, the Blu-ray version, and it's got a subplot in there that involves this guy named Agent Weeks, and it's really cool. It's not cool, but it's like, it definitely adds more to the film. There's stuff that's in this cut that isn't in the other one, but yeah. So that aside, there will be very few moments where I'm doing spot the differences here. But anyway, between the original cut and the Blu-ray version. But all that aside, I'm going to give you, right out of the gate, this is my review of the 2004 Thomas Jane starring The Punisher movie. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Hands down, it is my favorite Punisher movie. Better than Dolph Lundgren. And, I actually like the Punisher TV show. I really do. But, like, dude, that shit's grim. That shit was not made to be binged, man. That is some weekly TV shit if I've ever seen it. You binge those episodes one after the other, dude, it's gonna take a toll on you, man. Like, I'm not even joking. It is... Wow, it's the comics straight up. Like, you're not supposed to read Punisher comics one after the other. Like, just take a break between them. John Bernthal is great in that TV show, but like, it's not my favorite Punisher. If I had to like stack them, it would be Thomas Jane, John Bernthal, then Ray Stevenson, then Dolph Lundgren, because Ray Stevenson is the most comic accurate Punisher you can get, and John Bernthal. And John Bernthal is like as close as you can get to like a walking, talking, Frank Castle. Is the most realistic Punisher. Let me say that. Ray Stevenson is the most comic accurate. John Bernthal is the most realistic, but Thomas Jane falls into that middle ground. It's not entirely comic accurate, but it's more realistic than the comics, but comic accurate enough in a good way, in its own good way. It doesn't rip straight from the comics. It takes bits from the comics and does its own thing with them. And I like that. That's good. I like when origin stories, especially live action origin stories, like if you just do a beat for beat retread of what's in the book, it can sometimes work. But at the same time, you look at movies like Uncharted that have a beat for beat recreation of like the airplane scene from Uncharted 3. It's not gonna work, man. It's not gonna work. Like, why would I pay X amount of money to watch this on DVD or see it in a cinema when I can just go online and watch the cutscene on YouTube for free? But yeah, so this movie's awesome. Let me say that. 8 out of 10, hands down. The action is really good given the movie's budget. The score is amazing. It's just, this movie has a lot going for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just that opening score when the film begins. The Blu-ray edition, the score composed by Carlos Ciliato. I hope I'm saying that right. Johnathan Hensleigh wanted the music of the movie to be very emotional, and it really is emotional because it's kind of reminiscent of The Godfather. It's a little bit similar to that, but it's not that. It's its own thing, and it just kicks off right away that this is not a superhero origin story. It is. It's it's an adaptation of it's a comic book movie, but it's not your typical superhero origin story. It's not triumphant or bombastic. It's not Danny Elfman or fuck, I can't remember anybody's names anymore. It's not like a Danny Elfman score. It's more sad, more somber. It's definitely giving that this is a story of a tragic hero, like your Shakespeare's. You have your Hamlets, or just basically Hamlet. In the sense that everybody dies at the end, or he's lost someone and he feels the need to get revenge. But in the case of Frank Castle, this is not vengeance. Like, revenge is, he has a whole speech about it where he's like, this is not vengeance. Revenge is an emotional response. This is not vengeance, it's punishment. And therein, to cue the title card, The Punisher. Yeah, because in any other story, there's this cliche of like the guy who's trying to live a normal life, but he's wronged in some way, or his family's taken from him, and he gets dragged back into a world he tried to leave behind. This isn't that. There are elements of that, but this isn't that. See, because in this film, Frank is basically this, like, he's basically like a CIA, FBI, CTU, they say. He's working with the government, and they take down, no, he's with the FBI, yeah, he's working with the FBI, and he's involved in this deal that ends with this mob boss's son getting killed. There's one of two twins. The mob boss's son gets killed, and it was a deal where Frank Castle was present. So he's like, well, this was my last operation, and he leaves. After that, it's like, well, this was my last case. I'm done. I'm out. He goes to live on vacation with his family, and he's like promising them, after this was my last work. No more moving around. I promise. This is it. We can finally have normal lives. I'm done with that life. And they seem genuinely happy for it. As cliche as it is, of that was my last case or whatever. 2 weeks to retirement. No, this isn't 2 weeks to retirement. This is, I'm retired. I can finally relax, just live a normal life with everybody. And the family itself, we are given reasons to give a shit. The wife, there's this tender moment between her and, Frank, and there's moments where they're like looking at their son and they're thinking, hey, we should have another. We could have another kid, this one turned out so well. Like that. They didn't say that, but that's in there. But yeah. So thing is, that scene segues into this other scene where Frank's son bought him a present. It's a shirt with a big skull on the front. And anybody who knows anything about the Punisher knows that his logo is the big skull that he wears on his chest. So I like that this is how Frank gets his logo, because it's not just the imposing, image of a skull that he put on his chest because, hey, if you're seeing this, it means death or whatever. It gives it more of a personal attachment, that this skull isn't just a symbol to strike fear into the hearts of his enemies. It's also it's a gift that his son gave him, that it's the one more thing tying him to what's left. It's one of the few things he has left to tie him to his family. That's that's good. I really do like that. I really like that piece of the story, that new element, because it's not in the comics. It's not in there. It really isn't from the comics. I remember writing this down. I said, I like how the movie gives a Punisher logo an origin that ties him to his family by having his son give it to him as a gift. That way, it's not a warning to criminals like the bat signal, but it's also, in a way, it's not just a warning to criminals like the bat signal. You see, because Batman, he wears a bat signal on his chest. They said in this comic he wears it on his chest. He has like this all black suit, but he has a bright yellow bat signal, so the bad guys have a target they can aim at. Like, I was like, well, it's ridiculous that a guy in an all black suit would wear a bright yellow, bat signal on his chest. He's like, I wear that on purpose. Like, why? So the bad guys have a target to shoot at. He puts the target right there because that's where his armor is at its strongest. They're shooting at him there. It's pointless. He wants them to waste their fucking ammo. He doesn't want them shooting anywhere else, because anywhere else and they might hit a weak spot or like a chink in the armor or whatever. They might actually get a lucky shot if they aimed anywhere else. So for Batman, that works. Yeah. Anyway, back to the thing. For a movie that was made in 2004, it has a very 90s action movie feel to it, and that's a good thing. It even had those 90s action movie gunshot sounds when a handgun or a shotgun is fired, and I love that. It reminds me of classic action films like Demolition Man, Die Hards 1 through 3. By the way, Johnathan Hensleigh, the guy who directed this movie, he worked on Die Hard 3. Let that sink in. That's a sign of quality right there. Like, he worked on Die Hard 3, Con Air, and then this. Like, damn, dude. Like, we got the right guy for the job. And they did. He did a superb job directing this film. Yeah, okay. Back to that. Movies like The Last Boy Scout and a lot more movies where they use those 90s action movie sound effects. Okay. Moving on. Frank is at this... He's in Miami. He's at, this big family get-together. All his family is there. In the comics... Frank's family is killed because they were at the park and they happened to witness a mob execution. It's the typical Marvel hero. It could have happened to anybody, that works for guys like Spider-Man, just that definitely works in the movie. I'm gonna get to that. But in this movie, Frank's castle is targeted because the mob boss's son dies. And the mob boss wants revenge. He wants Frank Castle to die. So, before the death of his son, but it's the mob boss's wife who, stops and goes, wait. It's kill his family. His whole family. Kill them all. I lost my family, he needs to lose his. And the mob boss agrees to, please her, because he was totally fine with just Frank dying. He was totally okay with the idea of, the guy, Frank Castle, responsible for the death of my son. He's gotta go. That's it. Score settled. Frank's dead. I'm good. That'll something. But it was her idea to be kill his family. His whole family's got to go too. And it's that's what you want? She nods. It's well, make it so, Quentin. The bad guys is Howard Saint, Quentin Glass, Liv. I think her name is Liv. He called her Liv. I don't know what her whole name is, but she's Liv. And the son, I don't know what the fuck his name is. I don't know what the other son name is. They're the Saint twins. The twin number 1 is dead, so we're gonna call the other guy twin number 2. So yeah, those are who's left. So Howard Saint sends Quentin Glass, twin number 2, and a bunch of henchmen after the Frank family to the Frank family compound. Fun fact: apparently that compound, since the movie was shot on the cheap, that compound is apparently a public bathroom that was just made to look like it was a house. And the interior shots of that place are actually in a studio somewhere. That's some creative use right there, man. There's a lot of shots in this movie that are very economic, because there's a scene where they show you the club that the Saints own, an exterior shot of the club, and then they cut to the inside. Apparently that's a bank. That exterior shot that they show is a bank. The inside is a set somewhere. The set that they redesigned to look like a club. So yeah, that's creative and everything. Okay, we're gonna film from the outside this really cool looking building, and we're gonna say that's our headquarters, and then we're gonna cut to an interior shot. The audience will think, oh, we must be inside the previous building we saw, not realizing that it's actually a totally different building. So yeah, the movies do this all the time. Movies, next time you see a movie that starts with an outside shot of a house and then cuts to the inside but doesn't show you people going inside, just know that the reason they do that is because, well, we've transitioned to a new scene, and this is the easiest way to transition to it without just cutting from one location to another without explanation. Also, we want you to think we're in this location when in reality we're on a soundstage somewhere. So yeah, that's a little bit of hey, hashtag the more you know. Yeah. Whilst the death of Frank's family doesn't play out like it does in the comics, I still enjoy it more than the comic accurate one. Because in the shootout, in the comics his family dies after witnessing a mob shootout. They were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like I said, could happen to anybody. Typical Marvel trope. It leans into the whole anybody can be a hero, but like it doesn't quite work here. Thing is, in this movie, this works better because it gives Frank a specific target to go after when he becomes a Punisher, instead of it just being all of organized crime. And it's more personal because it could have happened to anyone approach doesn't quite work for a guy like Frank Castle. It works for guys like Spider-Man, but not Frank, because not just anybody could become the Punisher. The same way anyone in the same circumstance can become Spider-Man, yeah. Because a spider landing on you, biting on you, and giving you radioactive powers in the world of Marvel, that could happen to anybody. And anybody gifted those powers could go down that route. And in other heroes, that could have been there are so many instances of characters in Marvel where you're like, hey, that could have been anybody. There's nothing special about Peter Parker that it had to happen to him. But, in the movie, in the Punisher Warzone and the Punisher TV series had, Frank's family be in the wrong place, wrong time. So that making it seem like, this horrible thing could have happened to anybody. It just so happened to happen to Frank Castle. It kind of makes it a lot less special. The idea that this could have happened to anyone, it just so happened to happen to you. It just doesn't quite make it so special. And it doesn't, the fact that the movie makes it more of a personal thing. This happened specifically to you. This isn't something that couldn't happen to anybody. This is something that could have only happened to you. That adds to it, because like anyone else in a similar situation wouldn't necessarily have gone the same path. I mean, they could try to get revenge, but it wouldn't work out because they're just an ordinary guy. And this actually works in the film's favor, because normally the cliche of like, the guy who is put in this horrible situation is some former special forces guy, that's a cliche nowadays, but back then it wasn't as bad. And in this film it's certainly executed a lot better, because we know about his background, but we only find out about it like after the event has occurred. And the movie doesn't have to tell us that Frank is a capable fighter, he's all this. The movie, it does later on, but it shows us first the explanation from Dave, Ben Foster's character, that, Frank was in CTU, he was in the army or whatever. That's to explain those skills. It's not telling us about his skills. It's explaining this is how he was able to do the things he did in previous scenes. The chase. Oh man, before I get there, the pieces for Frank to become the Punisher are there. The custom Colt pistols he later uses are his father's, and the shirt is given to him, the one with the skull logo, is given to him by his son. But it's the death of his family that's the final piece which brings it all together. There's a shot in the film after the death of his family. He's, recuperating, and he goes to what's left of his family's house. He basically goes, revisits the scene of the crime. He finds the shirt that his son gave him. It's amongst the rubble, and he picks it up. He sees the faded skull on it. There's a shot in the film where he lifts up the shirt so it's eye level, and from the perspective of the camera, his face is obscured by the shirt that he's lifted up. And when he lifted up the shirt, he was, basically a broken man. He was Frank Castle, a man who'd lost his family. He'd lost his wife, his kids, his mother, his father. Everybody was murdered, and he was feeling that pain. He was just carrying that sadness deep inside. But as he pulls the shirt back down, it's changed. It's the man who hobbled his way into the house is gone. The look in his eyes, the expression he has on his face, it's changed. He's not the same man who hobbled out here earlier. He's a totally new guy now. He's got focus. He's got a drive. He's got a mission. He's a man on a mission of vengeance and righteous rage. The guy who was grieving loss is gone. You know, he's moved on from, you know, stages of grief, you know, like the sadness, anger, bargain, and then acceptance, you know. So he's moved on from sadness like that. Him, like, seeing what's happened to his family's house, you know, seeing the skull logo, that's him in sadness. When he pulls the shirt down, now it's just anger. He's moved on to that stage. And that's, Frank Castle goes through the stages of grief. It's, you know, the ones that I know of is sadness, anger, bargain, and acceptance. So he goes through sadness when he's mourning the loss, and anger when he's actively going after the saints and, you know, dishing out retribution against the members of the family. Bargain, you know, when the thing is, bargain is at the very end. At the very end, when he plans on killing himself. So he's gotten revenge for his family. He's killed Howard Saint. He's destroyed the Saint's empire. He's, you know, dished out the punishment as is necessary to do. So he plans to kill himself. He puts a gun to his head. And at that moment, the bargain, it's like when you try to exchange the reality you're in for a reality in which everything is better, and what you're going through, you're not going through this grief. And the reality where he's not going through this grief is a reality in which he's dead. He thinks he'll die and he'll be reunited with his family. That's the bargain, instead, as opposed to him being alive and being alone. And he moves on from that when he sees not a flashback, but like he has a memory of his wife. And that is what allows him to move on and keep going. Because in the comics, with it being, you know, a mob hit, Frank is on a quest to take down the entire mob. There's no point where he's like, okay, I'm done. This is it. This is, you know, because in those comics, it's a never-ending war. There's never going to be a point where Frank can say, I've killed the entire mob. Now I can stop, you know, like, but this movie gives him that out. You know, like, it gives him a point where he's like, okay, I've gotten my revenge. I could totally stop now. My family's been avenged. A punishment's been served. I don't have to do this anymore. But the fact that he chooses not to kill himself shows that he made the conscious choice to keep doing this. Because, you know, even though his family was affected and his life was ruined, there are other people out there. There are other families, other victims, other people who can't get the justice that the law would, you know, the law in this world should provide. And he is now, he's no longer fighting for his family. He's not fighting for all the victims. This is no longer about him anymore. That's why this sort of revenge quest works better, because he's not doing this for himself. So many revenge thrillers, or like quests where a character seeks vengeance on people who take his family away, like, they're doing this for themselves. They'll even have scenes where he's like, where they're like, you know, like, yeah, I know my family wouldn't want this, but I'm not doing this for them. I'm doing this for me. So yeah, there's a moment like that in here too, in this movie too, when the woman asks him, what makes you different from them? You know, like, how are you any different than they are, since you're gonna go out and kill them? And he says, well, they have something to lose. It's like, he's, in a way, it's right. Like, the fact that he said they got something to lose, I don't like that, because it's like, well, I'm different because I have nothing and they've got something. I'm gonna take away that something. Like, that's not, you know, I don't really like that. But he gives a speech. There's a speech he has, was like, after that scene, he says, I leave this as a declaration of intent, so no one will be confused. Sic vis pacem parabellum. It's Latin. A boot camp sergeant made us recite it like a prayer. Sic vis pacem parabellum. If you want peace, prepare for war. Yeah. That scene right there, it was like, that's what he was talking about. He mentioned that revenge is not about a motive. You know, it's an emotional response. So this is not vengeance, this is punishment. Yeah. Yeah. I love that feat of writing. That's some good writing, is there? At the end of the movie, acceptance, as tying back to the stages of grief thing, the acceptance part is him standing on the bridge, looking out into the world. As the camera pans up to him, he says, Frank Castle is dead. He died with his family. You know, call me the Punisher. You know, like that scene, he's accepted who he is. He's no longer doing this for himself. He realizes like the identity of Frank Castle, like that's gone. His family is gone. He is gone. He's no longer that guy anymore. Now he is the Punisher. This is his new life. This is what he lives for, and this is what he will do. He's accepted what has happened. You know, he's not grieving anymore. He's not angry anymore. He still has anger, but that's mostly directed to the punishment he seeks to dole out. It's not because of what happened in the past. And he's not trying to bargain out of it. He's accepted what's going on, and whoever's thought that, man, the fucking Punisher is a better example of the stages of grief than WandaVision. Because that movie is fucked up. Anyway. Yeah, there's this line he has at the end. Those who do evil to others, the killers, the rapists, psychos, sadists, you will come to know me well. Frank Castle is dead. Call me the Punisher. And that line, that's literally the last line of the movie. Thing is, I like that, dude. That is a kick-ass way to end the film. It is the roll credits. It's like the best example of a roll credits moment. Say the title of the film, roll credits. Yeah. Oh, man. The music for this film is beautiful. The score that plays at the beginning and during Howard's death is more in line with the drama that frames this film as more of a tragic hero story instead of a superhero origin. It definitely gives the film a unique feel to other films of the time and genre. I know Thomas Jane may not be the only live-action Punisher to don a long black trench coat, but the one he has in this film is fucking badass. It reminds me of a cowboy western duster, and there's even a standoff like something out of a Clint Eastwood movie. I love that scene where he's just made it rain for the people of Miami. He's made it rain all of Howard Saint's money in this building, and he's walking out with a suitcase full of cash. But then he comes across these two guards. He pulls out, he basically stops and has a duel with them. He's got like the long black trench coat, and he's standing there, just like dead ass, looking at them both, switching back and forth. And you can tell there's a showdown coming, because they all lift back their jackets to reveal like they got guns. And like one guy's like, he's got a gun. And Frank is just dead ass looking at them both. And quicker than they can, he pulls out these two pistols and he caps them both like a shootout at the OK Corral or some shit. It's awesome, man. And that coat is fucking badass, man. That's American badass levels of cool. When I say American badass, it's not an adjective. There's a dude out there, his name is The Undertaker. For like 2 years, he was the American badass, and he also had a long black trench coat. It was like that. It is that level of kick-ass to it, man. That is a dope fucking coat. I mean, John Bernthal's got a coat too, and he looks a different kind of cool. Dolph Lundgren, nah, he's just a guy in a coat. He's barely the Punisher. He's the Punisher in name only. There's no skull logo. So yeah, that movie did not adopt the source material. Like, at all. That is not the Punisher movie. Change the main character's name, change the name of the film, and you'll see, it's a totally different movie. Like, if you can change the main character's name and change the name of the film, and this movie stops being a Punisher movie, you did not make a Punisher movie. For this film, if you change the main character's name and you change the name of the film, this is still very much a Punisher movie. It's hard to dispute that. This is it's a Punisher movie through and through. The chase scene's really good. There's a scene after this where, the villains aren't passive in this. They're actively trying to react. They're actively reacting to what Punisher is doing. It's like, okay, he's made it rain all of our money. We have to do something. There's a specialist from Memphis, he's, Quentin Glass tells Saint that, there's a specialist from Memphis. He's going to deal with it. You've hired him to deal with it. That specialist is Harry Heck. He's played by Mark Colley. He did the song In Time. It was used in the trailer for this film, and it was also used at the end. So yeah, speaking of that, in the original version of this film, the one that I saw on DVD way back when, the song that plays during the end credits is Step Up by Drowning Pool. 1, 2, 3, go, da 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 da, and it's awesome. That's a kick-ass song. That's one way to end the film. However, in the Blu-ray version, the one I saw last night, the song that plays at the end is In Time by Mark Colley. And it's definitely, yeah, it fits, both the songs with like, in the step up fits because it's like a hard hitting, like, fuck yeah, let's go, baby, like in a send the crowd home happy kind of song. But, and it's, fitting of as kind of a kick ass action movie, but In Time by Mark Colley, it fits the story of Frank Castle more because, the lyrics are in time, all things shall pass away. In time, you may come back someday to live once more, to die once more. In time, your time will be no more. That really ties into this film more than Step Up. I mean, it's a cool song, but it's just thematically, it fits better. Yeah. So there's so many things in this song that fit into this film. Like this song just fits. I've never seen a song that was made separate from a movie that somehow fits the movie. It almost like it was made for it. Like just this movie has two songs in it that feel like they were made for this film, just for this film. The score that plays at the beginning and the song that plays at the end. That and In Time that plays at the end. That's awesome. Like both those songs are awesome. Like this movie opens and ends perfectly and thematically and just wonderfully, man. So yeah, it's like this part where it's like your days are numbered. It's like your days are numbered. Count them one by one. Yeah, it speaks of, it's the Punisher. There's a scene where Punisher drags his gravestone, like the gravestone of Frank Castle, right onto, Howard Saint's golfing course. And he's like letting him know, like, hey, I'm not dead. Like, I'm not dead. Your days are numbered too. Like, this headstone is two things. One, it's letting you know that I'm still out there. And two, it's letting you know, like, yeah, you see this headstone? You're gonna get one next. Your days are numbered, pal. Count them one by one, and sooner or later, I'm gonna get you. So yeah, you can outrun the devil if you try, but you will never outrun the hands of time. Yeah, in time, you'll surely come a day. In time, all things shall pass away. In time, you may come back someday. Live once more, die once more. Time, your time will be no more. It fits the villain and the hero. That, the villain's days are numbered. With Frank, live once more, die once more. He came back from the dead, essentially, when they tried to kill him. And he, died again when he said, Frank Castle is dead. He died with his family, and he was reborn as the Punisher. So yeah, it fits. Like they tried to kill him several times, and he came back. And yeah, it just fits. I'm rambling here, but it fits. Trust me, man. It just tie the lyrics to this song. It works. Yeah. Oh, but yeah, Harry Heck, this guitar playing assassin, meets Frank in the diner, and he plays In Time for him, and then he's like, "I wrote that for you. I'm gonna sing it at your funeral." Then this car chase ensues. The Frank ends up wrecking his car during the ensuing chase, and as he crawls out, like Harry Heck walks up to him with a fucking shotgun, and then Frank pulls out this like knife, what appears to be a knife, and Harry Heck is like, "You are one dumb son of a bitch bringing a knife to a gunfight." Well, it's not a knife. It's a fucking like, I don't know. He shoots the knife out of the holster right into the guy's throat, and that's that. So you think. Thing is, dear bad guys, when you think you've got somebody, don't take a second to monologue. Like, don't take a second to make fun of them. Kill them, then monologue, okay? Because that second is exactly how much time the good guy needs to turn the tables on you. Jesus, man. Ah. Whew. Anyway. So, yeah. Oh, I love that scene. So Frank's car is wrecked, but don't worry, he gets Mark Colley's green muscle car. You can see it at the end of the film when he's standing on the bridge. Nice little bit of continuity there. So yeah, Frank doesn't just stop to lick his wounds after that. He goes out to continue make the Saints' life living hell. Thing is, there's these dudes, right? They're called the Toro Brothers. They work with the Saints, doing drug shipments, money laundering, shit like that, Howard Saint is their accountant. He launders their money. So Frank has been fucking shit up for them. He blows up a boat with all of their laundered money on it. And like, John Travolta is a great actor, man. The scene when he reacts to like the Frank Castle blowing up his boat. It's like, all of it. All. It's like, he sells it so well. It's like, fucking all the money blew up. Like, do you have any idea how fucked we are? Like, he knows, like, hey, all this money blew up. It's not his money. The first amount of money that went up, that was his money. The clean money that he gives to the Toros. But the money that blew up on the boat, that was the Toros' money. He's mad that the money blew up, but he's also freaking out. It conveys that he's mad that the money blew up, but he's also conveying it and he's freaking out. Like, all of it? Like, what the fuck? And like, when the Toros come into the building, he's like, don't tell them anything until we have a plan. But they know. They know. Fucking, dude, you really think a dude isn't gonna know that all of his money just went up in fucking smoke? You don't think he's got people who have eyes on this kind of thing? You think he's gonna not keep track of his fucking money? Especially when it's a boat full of money? Damn, dude. There's this scene where, like, even though the Toros come in, and they're like, you know, like, our money blew up. It's like, you know, like, our money blew up. What the fuck you gonna do about it? Howard still stands his ground. He's their accountant, but he ain't no bitch. He ain't just gonna stand there and be intimidated. It's like, what the fuck? Like, they tell him, like, you know, they tell him about the money burning up, and the one Toro tells him a story about, like, the money, his mom leaving money under the mattress, and the mattress going up, and then the house going up in flames. And it's like, and then Howard is just looking at him like, what is this? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to scare me? Like, 15 shipments, everything went good. One goes bad, and I get this? Like, well, what is this shit? Like, you know damn well that there's no guarantees in this business, alright? I'm not covering your asses. And if you don't like it, like, just remember one thing. Like, if you got a problem with that, remember one thing, man. I've got more guns than you. He doesn't, but they don't know that. He needs them to think that so they won't come after him. And he has to say that because if you have to stand your ground in certain situations, otherwise people are going to walk all over you. And Howard Saint isn't the kind of guy to just let people walk all over him or even think they can walk all over him, regardless of who they are. You know, so yeah. And that's good. Even when this is funny scene where like the Toro guy comes in and he goes immediately to the cigars, and Howard is like, "Don't touch the Cubans." Grabs a cigar and he doesn't even light it. He puts it in his mouth, and like once Howard does the whole "I've got more guns than you" thing, he pulls out the cigar and is like, "This aren't even Cuban, Howard. They're Honduran." And then he leaves. Okay, that was a weak comeback, dude. The guy just basically said, "Hey man, you don't like it? Tough shit. And if you want to do something about it, come at me, bro." And all you can do is criticize his cigars? Like, come on, dude. You're like Cuban like drug runner, man. Surely you got a better comeback than that. So he walks away. I'm thinking, you know, that may have been a Honduran cigar, but like the whole thing, these Cubans are Honduran. You don't think maybe you grabbed a Honduran cigar by mistake? Just saying. You know, just saying. We don't know if he actually grabbed the Cuban cigar. That could have been a Honduran cigar that he thought was Cuban, but hey, whatever. So Quentin Glass walks up to Howard and immediately is like, "It's my duty to inform you that we do not have more guns than them." He's like, "Hey, we do not have more guns than them. Just want you to know that in case you didn't know." Like, he doesn't say that. It's like, that's the vibe it is. It's like, FYI, like, dude, we don't have more guns than they do. You know, like, just... And that's the point where he's like, it's your duty to make Castle dead. I don't care what it takes. I don't care what it costs. Call the Russian. The Russian is an actual dude from the comics. I don't know if Harry Heck was in the comics or not, but the Russian is, and it's... In the comics, he's fucking weird. It's fucking weird in the comics, man. Like, just, the Russian just goes all kinds of wacko. Like, just, yeah. And he's in the video game. He's in the Punisher video game. And it's almost a beat-for-beat recreation of this fight. But thing is, in the video game, you're in the fight. You get to interact with shit some more. You get to do stuff. and it's really cool. But in this movie, the fight between Frank Castle and the Russian is also really cool. And if you've seen the movie, you notice I'm skipping a whole bunch of shit. I'm skipping the comedic shit. I'm skipping the tenants inviting Frank in for like dinner. I'm skipping the one chick's boyfriend coming in to, try to get back with her and Frank beats him up. Like, I'm skipping all that because it's comedic shit. I guess we can't be grim and serious all the time. We need moments of levity, and I'm good with that. But like, I'm not gonna mention that because that would just stretch this video. So like, yeah, this movie has moments of levity in it. Unlike the TV show, where it's like 80% serious and grim and R-rated, and like a little bit of lightness every now and then. Like, you'll see characters like I don't know, man. I can't really. This movie, that show is grim. It wasn't made to be binged. Like, you feel like, I don't know. You feel taxed after watching that. If you watch like 5 episodes one after the other, you feel like, man, what is mom? Like, just anyway, whatever. I'm not dissing the show. It's really, really good. You should check it out. But anyway, moving on. But check this out too. This is a really good movie. Made it this far, you should definitely be checking that shit out. Going back to that, anyway, this scene, the fight with the Russian is awesome. Like, the Russian beats the piss out of Frank Castle. He beats him bloody. There's a scene where Frank takes a knife that he took off the guy and he tries to stab the dude. The dude is played by Kevin Nash. Big, beefy, big, sexy Kevin Nash. Blonde hair, Where's Waldo shirt. So he turns and he gets stabbed. That wasn't a prop. That was a legit scene. They beat the fuck out of each other. They don't beat the fuck out of each other. Frank gets fucked up. Most movies don't do this. Most movies don't have a scene halfway through the movie where the hero gets fucked up by one of the bad guy's henchmen. Because normally they save that shit for the third act when the hero has to fight the bad guy. And it's the bad guy who's like the guy who can go toe-to-toe with the hero. But rarely in Punisher stories is that the case. And it makes sense that it wouldn't be, because why would a mob boss be able to go toe-to-toe with like some former special forces dude? Surely he would hire someone who can do that. And it fits. It makes sense. Like, Howard Saint would send people after Frank Castle instead of being like, I need to go down there and sort this shit out. That's literally the last resort. What fucking mob boss would directly go? It would have to be a big fucking deal in order for a boss to go down there and get you himself. Like, you would have to have personally done something seriously fucked up to agitate him that he wants to go after you himself. Like, I'm gonna do it. A king isn't down on the battlefield with his soldiers. They used to in the old days, but not now. You're not gonna see a general amidst the chaos with his marines fighting off enemy combatants. If they do that, that's when the situation is really fucking dire. That's when, oh shit, we need you down here. That's when, all the troops are gone and, shit's gotten serious. That's when shit's gotten serious, when the fucking guy giving the orders is down on the battlefield with his men. So, the fight with the Russian, there's some crazy shit here, man. It's like, the closest thing I can explain it to is a Tom and Jerry skit. A really long Tom and Jerry skit. Only it's Tom and the dog. It's not Tom and Jerry. It's Tom and the fucking dog. Only in this case, the Punisher is Tom's the cat. And the fucking dog is the Russian. He's just fucking him up. Sure, he has his moments where he tries to mount a comeback. It plays out kind of like a wrestling match. The hero gets fucked up for like 90% of it. But then in the end, he busts out this, match-ending move. It's kind of like it's more of a John Cena match when you think about it. It's like John Cena versus Brock Lesnar. He got fucked up for like 90% of the fight. And there were little moments where he tried to mount a comeback, but he got squashed every time. But then at the end, it's like, BAM! Victory out of nowhere. Like sudden KO or some shit like that. But yeah. So, yeah, I mean, in the video game, you can smash dude's head into the TV. You can throw objects at him. There's so much shit you can do. You get tossed through a bunch of walls in the video game, and the guy talks in that video game, and it kind of ruins it, man. Like, he's this powerful mute, and all you hear him do is like grunt, And thing is, like, all Kevin Nash does in this movie is like grunt and smile every now and then. Like, it's like two scenes where he smiled, two moments where he smiles as the Russian, and it's way more, interesting than in the video game when he's like, "Whoa, the Punisher playing rough," or just like, "Ah, you stupid American," or whatever. Like, what are you doing? You're actively ruining this moment. I don't need you fucking giving me the play-by-play. Just like, shut up and kick his ass, man. Oh shit. But yeah. So the guy gets tossed through. There's a scene where he has like this hidden gun set up. See, he set up his house kind of like a trap. Like wherever he was, he would have some kind of weapon nearby. There's this grenade. He hit it in the sink. He chucks it. But then, fucking, remember I said this is like a Tom and Jerry sketch? So he chucks the grenade. The Russian whacks it back into the room. And like Frank hides in the bathtub. The grenade goes off. And his fucking neighbors are like, huh, what was that? For a moment. And then they go back to like dancing. Thing is, this whole fight is playing out to fucking Italian opera music that's blasting so loud that the people listening to it can't hear a grenade going off in the same building they live in. Jesus, man. It's literally down the hall. You tell me you can't hear a grenade going off if it's going off literally down the hall. Shit, it's a grenade. It's not a little pop gun or a firework, and the music ain't that fucking loud, dude. It's a grenade. Grenade! Jeez. Anyway, so the grenade goes off and he crawls out there. He crawls out of the bathtub all fucked up. This is a Tom and Jerry sketch because Tom gets blown up. He gets whacked around like a fucking redheaded stepchild. He gets run over. He has all this shit happen to him. The Punisher gets blown up. He gets beat up by the Russian. He gets his head slammed into a refrigerator door. He gets thrown through walls. He gets choked out. A bunch of shit happens to him. And he's like still moving. He's still going. This is... he doesn't have any powers. Don't get this wrong. The Punisher does not have powers. He's just a guy. And but he gets fucked up in this movie and it shows. It's not like those action movies where the character gets fucked up, but there's no showing. Punisher gets he's got cuts and shit on his face. His nose is busted, and when he gets stabbed, you see him bleed, and there's an actual scar. Even when they patch him up and he stands up, there is a scar. And he's kind of groggy from the aftermath of the fight to the point that he's out of action for a while. So yeah, that's a good fight. He wins when he pours boiling fucking water. I think it's boiling water, or I think it was hot pasta. Whatever it is was hot, because it fucking scorched dude's face, man. He was hideous when he the camera panned back up, some 3rd-degree burn shit going on. His face it was melting, man. It was if you made a wax figurine of someone's face, a wax head of someone's face, and you put it near a fire. That's what it looked like, bro. Oh man, it was horrible. Then he tackles the guy down a flight of stairs and he dies on impact. I'm pretty sure he snapped his fucking neck. But yeah. After killing the Russian, the tenants patch him up. They patch up Frank. They hide him in this elevator. And that's when Quentin Glass showed up. See, earlier in the movie, we're told that Quentin Glass is a sadist. And this is a scene that shows that. And we don't actually see a lot of what goes on. We don't see we see the first part of it where he pulls out Dave's piercing to try to interrogate him to tell him where Frank is. Because Dave's face is covered in piercings, so he pulls out one of the piercings. We see that. We see that happen. And then for the rest of the scene, we don't see it happen, but we hear it. And that's way more effective than if we'd seen it, because it forces you to imagine, oh shit. We saw the piercing guy's eyebrow come out, and then next he was reaching for the piercing in dude's nose. And when we see Dave again, all his piercings are fucking gone. That's when we're oh fuck, you ripped out all of them. He tortured this dude. You don't just pull out a piercing. That's gonna rip. You're not just gonna pull out a piercing and have a little bit of blood. You're gonna pull off a piercing and a chunk of skin is gonna come with it. So he had piercings in his mouth. He had piercings on his nose. He had piercings in his ears. that's a lot of pain. Dude went through a whole lot of pain and suffering to protect Frank. And it shows, like, hey, man, like, Frank isn't just he's not just a god for vengeance. He does help people out. He saved this woman Joan from like the abusive boyfriend who'd hunted her down. He stopped Dave from getting beat up by that same abusive boyfriend. And it's like, hey, you helped me, I'm gonna help you. Like, I owe you one, and that's that. At the end, he doesn't just vanish. It's not like debt paid or whatever. It's like, nah, you people put your lives at risk for me. And he helped them back by leaving this huge stack of cash that he'd stolen from Howard Saint, and he left it for them to find, because, well, they're definitely going to need it. I mean, the fight with the Russian took out several rooms, busted a whole bunch of fucking walls, and caused a whole lot of damage. And not to mention those guys paying Dave a visit. He's going to have a huge fucking hospital bill pay in when he has to repair all the damage to his face. So yeah, it was the right thing to do. It would have been a huge dick move if Frank just up and left. Like, well, sorry about your face, sorry about your building, but I'm going now. So yeah, like, whatever. Oh, glad he's a good guy. He's not a good guy. He doesn't save people. He's mostly about punishing the bad guys. But yeah, he does. You just do shit, and he has his moments where he's a good dude. Yeah. So yeah, that's terrible. That's his rambling on for that one fight. I really just love that fight between the Russian and Frank. That's that. I love that fight. It's a good fight. Go see it, man. Watch the movie, man. It's in there. It's great. Yeah. There's not much else to say. So Frank gets his revenge by tricking Howard Saint into killing his wife and killing his best friend, and he brings the Saints' empire to rubble. Man, he destroys everything when he goes after them. But he doesn't just show up with a big fucking gun and start blasting motherfuckers. He's not Arnold Schwarzenegger. This ain't Commando. He shows up with stealth. He takes the stealthy approach, taking them out one at a time before shit gets loud. Because he arrives with a bow and arrow, and he's taking out the guys at the perimeter, one after the other. And it isn't until he gets inside that he starts blowing shit up, And he does it in a very stealthy way, because he hides an explosive in this, like, bottle of champagne. There's this kind of funny moment right before the bomb goes off. Like, the guy takes a champagne, and like the lounge music is playing. Everybody's going about the guys are playing cards. Howard Saint's like lighting a cigar, and the dude lifts the champagne bottle, sees the grenade, like the bomb inside. He's like, oh, and then boom. I love when movies do that split second thing where they give the dude a split second to know that he's about to die. Like when they see the bomb right before it goes off. Or in Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man movie, where Green Goblin sees the blades coming and is like, oh. Those little, oh, moments. Like just... If this was an R-rated movie, and it is an R-rated movie now. This movie was not R-rated when it came out. I think it was PG-13 when it came out. This is like the first Punisher movie to get a PG-13 rating. Like, it was PG when it came out. And I know it was because that there were like talks to bring Thomas Jane back to do a Punisher 2. And no. There were talks to bring Thomas Jane as the Punisher in the MCU. And, they weren't going to bring Ray Stevenson ones because his wasn't PG. I remember that shit. They were like, okay, this Punisher movie is PG-13. And I believe that because it was edited to be that way. The original cut that I saw, even though it had a scene where dude had his piercings ripped out, even though it had a scene where dude got a knife shoved up his mouth and in his ass, and like, there's those fucking scenes, even though all those scenes are in here, this movie is somehow PG-13, or was. I saw it on TV and I'm like, wait a minute, this is bullshit. Like, how is this PG-13? There's tits in this movie. There's a scene where the guy is narrating fucking, like, he's not narrating fucking anything. He's narrating about, he's like explaining that the Toros, like, they have this business and they show a shot of this business, and there's this chick like walking past with no shirt on. I'm like, wait, how is this PG-13? I saw a pair of tits in that movie, like right there for like they were on the screen for 2 seconds. How did that sneak past the MPAA and whatever? I saw it like 5 years ago. I noticed 5 years ago, wait a minute, this movie's PG-13. How? Then it got 16 a few years ago, and it wasn't until I saw it on TV recently, I'm like, fucking finally, finally, respect. Because I'm guessing the version that the TV got a hold of, the TV channel, DSTV, I guess the version they got a hold of was the Blu-ray edition, because now it's 18. I'm like, you damn right it's 18. Shit. Put some respect on that name, man. Anyway. Yeah, so he goes in stealthily, kills everybody, blows shit up, and it's not those moments where the hero's taking on the bad guy's compound, and he's just invincible. He's killing everybody, headshots and everything. Sure, he's killing everybody, but he's also getting shot. I think it's realistic that yes, he does get shot. I mean, sure, he gets shot right in his armor, but the fact that he gets shot, and there are moments where he's like ducking for cover and he's switching between weapons, that is good. That's realistic, because you wouldn't just have one gun throughout. So yeah, I like that. He kills the twin number 2, not by just shooting you in the head or whatever. So he has this outstretched arm. He's reaching for a gun, and Frank just casually walks up to him and moves the gun away. He's like, yeah, you're not doing that anymore. Yeah, I'm looking at this dude, like, he's got a shelf pinning his arm down. I'm thinking, a more rational thinking man would try to get the shelf off him and then reach for the gun, as opposed to wasting time reaching for a gun that's not going to get any closer. Because since you got the shelf on. But yeah, so the guy's stuck pinned on the shelf, and he puts a mine in the guy's hand, and he rigs it so that if the guy lowers his arm, it'll go off. So he gives the guy the mine, and he's like, hey, you look like you work out. Try holding on to this. It's like 8 pounds. It's not a lot, but try holding on to 8 pounds with an outstretched arm for a long period of time. It's a hell of a workout. It's like, no, don't leave it like this. Don't leave it like this. But when he gets outside and he confronts Howard Sane is like, you killed my son. Like, there's this scene where he confronts him. He walks up to him, the flame going back, and he's like, Howard Sane, you took everything from me. And Howard is like, you killed my son. And we hear this loud rusty yell, no! It's like, both of them. Like, we don't need to see that. We know what happened. We saw the mine. We heard the no. We're like, yeah, we know he's dead. Anyway, so he shoots the guy, ties him up to the back of this car, and he shows him the photographs. It's like, you killed my family. It's like, I made you kill your best friend, and I made you kill your wife. Now I've killed you. I love that moment because it's thematically ties the hero and the villain. It's like, because in the beginning, when Frank's family dies, this happens. This is cold, but this happens because of him and because of the decisions that he made, the life he lived. And it thematically ties back to the villain, and it shows this isn't about revenge, because if it was revenge, he'd just killed Howard. He wanted to punish Howard. He wanted Howard Sane to feel the same pain that he felt. So he made him do decisions that would result in the death of the people that he held dear, much in the same way that, Frank did. The decisions he chose resulted in the death of his family. And now with Howard, the same thing has happened. That's what happens. So he ties the guy to the car goes off, and as Punisher is walking away, he sets off his explosives. Howard is engulfed in flames, and this parking lot of cars goes up in this huge series of fireballs that leave behind the Punisher logo etched in flames, and it's fucking beautiful. Yeah. That has been my thoughts on The Punisher 2004. This has been the S&W EXPerience Reviews. I'm giving this movie a solid 8 out of 10. Oh yeah. I have been the Shogun. This has been S&W EXPerience Reviews. Here we go. Goodbye. They beat the fuck out of each other. They don't beat the fuck out of each other. Frank gets fucked up.
I'll make it look like I'm losing. Won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless. see that they compare. I think everyone's against me, maybe something in the air. Am I paranoid? I swear a void is forming and they're scared. I walk a straight path, not many can say that. I like to play fast, cross me and there's payback. You better pray that I don't see your face at any place that I go. I know you hate that. I've been doing fine, I'm not wasting any more time. I live for the fight and the climb, and I think that the pain that's deep inside is what defines. So I won't give up, I'm gonna make it to the top. I don't care what's in my way, I swear I'm never gonna stop. I could fall flat on my face and I swear I will get back up, cause I don't deserve a thing and the road ahead is tough. They'll try to kick you while you're down, they wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt, they're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing,